the harshly rolling hills of the province of Chalatenango is Agua Caliente. The town itself has a population of only 800, but it is a municipal center for the rural cantons. Ojo de Agua, Santa Rosa, and Agua Fria are some of their names, and in their hills live 5,000 people. They are farmers of land which was never meant to be farmed, and inheritors of ignorance, poverty, sickness. But no generalization would do them justice, for they are individuals, all living a life which has its daily pattern, also those moments of hope and beginning.
I was the first North American ever in this town, in the history of Agua Caliente. I said, what? What? Where are you from? Where? And when I got here, I could have easily dropped in off of the moon. People, of course, were glad to see me. I was kind of a collector's item for a while. People came in, they looked over my suitcase, and I had 5 or 6 shirts in there. They automatically considered me to be the richest man in town. As I used to do in the old days, asking kids, you know, what do you want to do? You want to be a fireman? You want to be a policeman? Do you want to buy a boat, a gondola, and sing Italian songs? So I asked Betty, I said, what do you want to be, a nurse, a teacher? And she said, no, I'm not going to be a nurse or teacher. I'll be here in Agua Caliente, I'll have children, and I'll still be making tortillas. That's it, nothing more. So she was opposed to it, sure, but opposed to it in the only sense that she could be opposed to it, with the youngness of her days. With the fact that she is 9 years old, and that thus far she hasn't been overwhelmed by the sadness, hasn't been overwhelmed by the harshness of life. But that's coming. And so the possibilities of becoming a nurse, of becoming a teacher, for her now doesn't exist. This is the type of thing that you see out in Agua Caliente, and in 100,000 Agua Calientes all over the underdeveloped world. It's this sense of the equality of persons, and at the same time the recognition that there is not an equality of opportunity. The love of one's children, or the love of one's community, something which really can't be put down, and it has been put down for such a long time in these places. And so it begins.
¿Quién tuvo esa idea, sacar a los niños de allí de la escuela?
Fue Francisco.
¡Ajá!
Traer más tejas con los niños y la carreta.
Sí, sí. ¿Y no tuvo ningún problema con los padres de familia?
No, ninguno.
¿Ningún padre lo pasó allí y dijo, no quiero mi hijo trabajando en la escuela?
Ninguno. Todos
está bueno.
Santa Rosa se abrió.
The road, in the case of Santa Rosa, was something that made the school possible, because you just couldn't haul the materials out to Santa Rosa if you didn't have the road. The truck was enveloped by the people. Once you started on that road, there was no turning back. Just as once we started on the construction of that road, there was no turning back on the school or on all of these other things. So that once that truck actually started out there, there was no turning around. That truck was going to get through. It was going to get through because the people had a sense of urgency to get that truck through. Once you have the people on the move, they're not going to stop. We couldn't begin the school until the dry season began because you can't make adobes during the wet season. So we had a tremendous problem with the scarcity of water for the actual construction of the school. This is not done. The school, the walls aren't raised, the roof isn't put on in a day or in a week or in a week of days. This is something which goes on because we're working when the people can work. The people can't work every day because they have their own families to look after. People have to go out and begin clearing off the land. People have to go out and begin plowing the land in preparation for the seeding, the actual seed time. And therefore, maybe the roof isn't on. And you have people who are torn between their obligation to their family and the fact that they really want to get the school done and the walls are up, and if the roof does not go on, the walls will fall down because they're mud walls. So you, on the one hand, scarcity of water, one day you're hauling water 2 miles, and the next day you've got a tremendous overabundance of water. The weather's against us.
Pila para colocarla ya. ¿Está bien? Sí, magnífico. Vaya.
100 years ago in America, we have the image of Abraham Lincoln in his log cabin, sitting by the fire, reading the Bible and John Bunyan. And that's not much different than sitting out in Santa Rosa, reading by Coleman Lantern. We have this image of the past, that 100, even 50 years ago in the United States, anyone who had 2 years of schooling, the man that could read and write, had really done something. This was the educated person. In Santa Rosa today, and in all of Agua Caliente, we have the same critical step. The step out of the past into the village school. The step out of the farmyard into the second grade. This is the giant step.
In 1967, Tim Lavelle completed his Peace Corps service. He took the learning into a career of devotion to humanitarian efforts. Hurricanes in Nicaragua, earthquakes in Haiti, famine in Africa, disasters in Asia and Europe. Working first with CARE, then with USAID, Tim has been equally at ease with villagers and at the highest levels of government.
There are a lot of failures out there. You have projects designed in a think tank or designed in a capital that haven't been properly vetted, haven't been properly discussed at the local level, and so they are doomed sometimes to failure. The key is getting out beyond the walls of the embassy, of the USAID office, of the U.S. government installation, and communicating directly with people. And that's the Peace Corps way of doing business. And that's superb. Okay, so you always carry that lesson along with you. Someone like Francisco Landaverde, who was basically illiterate, that if he had had the opportunities, he had the charisma to be the president of the country. The statement of Secretary Clinton that talent is universal, opportunity isn't. Okay.
Y la letra dice de la siguiente manera. Se sabe que se acompaña. Por esa tierra del hambre, yo vi pasar a un viajero. ¡Esta palma! Humilde brazo y sincero, valientemente profeta, que se enfrentó a los tiranos para que salves de libre y asesinar a su hermano para defenderlo.
Through the years and the many faces of U.S. foreign policy that affected El Salvador, the memory of a volunteer who represented American commitment and generosity endured. The legacy crafted by Timothy Lavelle, Francisco Landaverde, and their compadres attained mythic proportions.
Cafe over here. Huh? You gotta get that.
After listening to all the stories and the testimonials over the past years, from all the different personalities and leaders, we have the history of Agua Caliente in our hearts. It is the fruit of the hard labor of Timoteo, to whom we are all thankful on this day. We are honored that you are here. The warmth that you are feeling is more than just the weather, it comes from our hearts. This plaque is an expression of our recognition. The inscription says, for having started a major change in Agua Caliente from the decade of the 60s, he discovered, invented, and motivated the abilities of the people, and in this way contributed to economic and social development, like the foundation of the cooperative, the creation of roads, bridges, schools, and nutritional planning. And so this plaque is in recognition for your life and work in Agua Caliente, dated April 1st, 2011.
their savings of this cooperative here in Agua Caliente today, $7.5 million, and their loan portfolio is $7.2 million. So how many agricultural loans and business loans, that if somebody said at some point in time this cooperative is going to have $7.5 million in savings, people would have thought they were nuts, they were crazy. I left Agua Caliente in 1967, and today I stand again on this hallowed ground. In 1967, in Santa Rosa, Francisco Landaverde launched our effort to construct a school with the phrase, Santa Rosa se abrió. Santa Rosa is open, meaning open to the will of the people, an opening of the road to the future.
Yo no quiero mi hijo trabajando en la escuela.
Ninguno, todos dijeron, Santa Rosa se abrió.
Ah, sí.
Buscad lejos hoy y tengo un cantar al bello lugar que me vio nacer. Doquiera que voy, yo siento el placer de poder gritar. Soy del Salvador, soy del Salvador. Eres bella como una flor, linda novia del ancho mar. Eres tono y eres altar, tierra mía del Salvador. Al pie del volcán, ameno jardín, los bosques están rodeando el confín, frescura y verdor, doquiera se ve, y en medio la flor de café. Eres bella como una flor, tierra mía de Salvador. Eres trono y eres altar, tierra mía de Salvador.